In the dead of night, something stalked the graveyards of Pennsylvania. Not a ghost, not a myth, but a man. A man who dug into the dead themselves. For months, Mount Moriah Cemetery had been quietly desecrated. Freshly overturned graves, empty spaces where human skulls should have rested. Families were unaware until the unthinkable came to light. In January 2026, the nightmare ended, or so it seemed, when Jonathan Gerlach, a 34-year-old former metalcore singer from Ephrata, was caught leaving the cemetery with a burlap sack filled with human remains. But the horror didn't stop there. This was a story that would haunt a town, a story straight out of a nightmare, yet terrifyingly real. The night was cold. The wind whispered through the trees. Investigators had been watching Mount Moriah Cemetery for weeks after an anonymous tip warned of grave robberies. And then they saw him. Gerlach, moving silently among the tombstones, digging where no one should ever dig. He carried shovels, crowbars, and tools stained with dirt and rot. And when he emerged, over his shoulders swung a burlap sack that moved unnaturally. Officers approached, and what they found made their stomachs turn. Inside were human bones, skulls with empty eye sockets, femurs, rib cages. Some were centuries old, some still held traces of decay. A horror movie had come alive. Gerlach didn't protest. He didn't scream. He simply walked with the sack as if carrying groceries, the dead bundled in burlap, their silence screaming louder than any living person could. Once in custody, the layers of Gerlach's macabre obsession began to emerge. At his home, police discovered rows of shelves stacked with human skulls. Some polished, some cracked. Bones lined the floor. Cabinets contained carefully labeled remains. Investigators later said the site was something out of a nightmare, the kind you see in horror films but never imagine in real life. Evidence suggested he wasn't just stealing for profit. He studied the bones, handled them as if they were trophies, and sold some to collectors online. Skulls advertised with cold, clinical descriptions, while the horror behind them remained hidden. Some skulls reportedly sold for hundreds of dollars each, others for more. Yet, for Gerlach, the money might have been secondary. He was fascinated with death itself, a twisted collector of the dead. The internet became his marketplace. In secret forums and dark corners of collector sites, Gerlach sold human skulls and bones to those who craved the macabre. No law, no decency, no morality stopped him. He would carefully remove graves, taking exactly what buyers requested: skulls, femurs, pelvis bones. All the while, the victims, people buried long ago or sometimes recent burials, were violated in the quiet of the night, their remains turned into commodities. Investigators called it a real-life horror story, and rightly so. The horror of Gerlach's actions didn't stop at the graves. Families who had come to Mount Moriah to mourn and remember discovered their loved ones had been dug up, desecrated, and stolen. Skulls that should have rested peacefully in coffins were sold, polished, and displayed as trophies. One prosecutor said, "It's the ultimate violation. The dead cannot speak, yet the horror screams through their absence." The psychological impact was staggering. Families wept, unable to imagine the depths of such desecration. Cemeteries, once sacred, peaceful places, became scenes of terror, desecration, and unimaginable violation. Gerlach faced multiple charges: abuse of a corpse, theft from burial sites, illegal sale of human remains. Evidence piled up like bones in a tomb: shattered coffins, messages to buyers, online sales, photographs, and a trail of desecration. Every grave he touched became a crime scene. Every bone he moved carried the weight of horror. The community recoiled in disbelief. How could someone do this and live among them in broad daylight as if nothing were wrong? The case became infamous nationwide, a story so horrifying that even seasoned detectives struggled to describe it without shuddering. When the court convened, The full scale of Gerlach's crimes was laid bare. Rows of human remains, proof of online sales, families' testimonies of grief and terror. The judge made the gravity of the crime clear. These were calculated acts of horror, profit, and obsession. The crimes violated not only the law, but the very sanctity of human dignity. Jonathan Gerlach was sentenced to decades in prison, ensuring he would no longer walk the night in search of his next victims. Restitution was ordered, but the psychological scars on families and the horror of what had been unearthed could never be fully healed. Wind howls, slow, echoing footsteps. The case of Jonathan Gerlach remains a chilling reminder. Even in the quietest, most peaceful places, horror can creep in silently, carrying a shovel and a burlap sack. Mount Moriah Cemetery now stands as a graveyard, but also as a warning. Because the dead should rest in peace, and some nightmares are frighteningly real. As for Jonathan Gerlach, the dead caught up on him, and he paid deadly. Subscribe for more horrifying true crime story. This is Crime Penalties.